That also, it's I'm glad that Natalie Portman was able to like escape that
Oh yeah.
kind of reputation that she got from that.
Well,
Because
even
I don't think that's something Hayden Christensen was ever to us like. He never really
No,
moved on from
but
that.
no, he didn't, and I think that's partially because he didn't really do a whole lot after.
yeah.
But say what you will about current Star Wars, like I'm glad that he's kind of back involved and like
Yes.
people kind of changed their minds on him.
Finally.
Uh,
I mean, his life also wasn't ruined like Jake Lloyd's was.
Yeah.
like say what
That's
you
really
will, but I
sad.
do think he has some legitimately great moments in episode 3.
Oh, me too.
I think he plays
think
the dark side Anakin really well.
I think
that,
he's good. I think he's good in spite of the dialogue.
Yeah.
I think he has some strong moments. But he gets an episode in Ahsoka, which isn't great. I had mixed feelings on that show, but there's an episode where he's legitimately very good. It's like some of the best work he's ever done in Star Wars.
I
awesome.
still want to watch that show just because of him.
I mean, you could just skip to that episode, but yeah, he's really good at it.
Well, look up that scene on
started
YouTube.
on us again.
What?
It did that last time. It was really weird. Let's see.
Wait.
Yeah, it sure did.
Wait, so is the YouTube broadcast?
Yeah, for some reason YouTube just like stops and then restarts.
Yeah, we are live again, but yeah, it's our stream ended a minute ago, and now we're just live again. I don't know why it's. Are you on like a timer or something? I don't know why it's doing that.
No, I think it's either it might be something with restream. I'm not sure. No, anime. We did not notice until just now. Thank you though.
Sorry, folks.
Well, what fix it in post.
It's fine.
It's okay.
But yeah, like with the acting, like even Samuel L. Jackson is bad in those. no one gave him shit for those. And like, how do you direct Samuel L. Jackson poorly? I don't know how you do that.
To be fair, though, like the entire trilogy doesn't revolve around Samuel L. Jackson.
That's true.
Like I don't agree with harassing any actors or actresses, but I can see why Hayden, Jake Lloyd got like the brunt of it.
Yeah, because they were the stars.
And people, I think, had kind of built up like their idea of Anakin, and I don't think it was ever going to be that. And that's consistent with like the original trilogy. He was never supposed to be like just a generic bad guy. Like there was a tragedy at some point.
Yeah, no one was invested in Mace Windu either way.
People are now, retroactively.
That's true.
No, they wanted to come back.
Yeah, he wants to come back, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
Which is really strange to me, because he talks about how Mace Windu is like one of his favorite roles that he's ever played. And I'm like, why?
I mean, can you blame him? He probably got paid like buku dollars to sit in a chair.
That's true. That's true.
He got to pick his lightsaber color. That's pretty cool.
He invented the purple lightsaber. And he's got one that says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Oh, that's great. Because even in Revenge of the Sith, a movie I do like, he has those moments like a Sith Lord.
A Sith Lord.
Like,
we must hurry, and then they just start walking.
If Disney ever reboots, I would love to see that prequel idea done competently.
Well, that's what some people wanted, like when they first bought Lucasfilm, was like, oh, they should remake the prequels. They should do those.
No.
I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that for a lot of
In
reasons.
hindsight, now, yeah.
In hindsight, yeah. But also, like, now the prequel nostalgia just kicked in. Like, the fandom is very different than it was 10 years ago.
Which is why, like, I rage against like the sequels, just because, in my opinion, those are not Star Wars. But I'm also fully aware in like 10 years there will be sequel nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure. And the prequels, also a big thing that's kind of boosted the reputation, is it also helps having a TV series set during that time period that is beloved and has, you know, better writers attached to it.
That's why I kind of resist remaking the prequels, like that idea, because we already have a lot of content in that time period that is good, and I just really love that era of Star Wars too. Like I like that.
I mean, I do
era.
too. I'm like, I don't really want them to be remade now. I've just made my peace with. I like the prequel stuff that I like.
Yeah.
I love the Phantom Menace. I love Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, and I like that that kind of phase in the lore of the universe than I do. I like that more than I do the actual movies, but I still have nostalgia for the movies.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if they ever reboot completely and remake the prequels, you gotta wait another like 50 years for our generation to die out, because we are the most. Oh god, that's not ominous at all. D done. On the wall it says Red Rum.
D done.
But no, because like the prequel generation is by far the most vocal and opinionated. You gotta wait for all us to die out, and then you can reboot.
It's time for the prequel defenders to end.
Well, both prequel defenders and original trilogy people who like grew up in the 90s or late 80s, like those two generations. Like you gotta wait for all of them to die out, and then you can reboot. But I think hypothetically, if you ever remade the prequels, the way I'd go about it is you start with the prequels and you just do episodes 1 through 9 chronologically with a plan, and I think it could be something kind of.
See, if I remade them, I would do some stuff vastly different. I would cut out episode 1. You don't need it.
Oh, for sure. I do not mean it would be a close remake. I'm just saying, like, the framework of episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like,
I would make episode. I've always said make episode 2, episode 1.
Yeah,
like a Clone Wars movie, and then you leave Revenge of the Sith where it's at.
Oh, we do have a Clone Wars movie.
A good
That's
Clone Wars
another
movie.
bad story. That's also one of the worst ones. It's a great show, but started bad.
And that's only because that wasn't supposed to be a movie.
Yeah. God damn it, Lucas. It's like
it was George.
That was a 4-part TV pilot. He was like, "Oh, I wonder if we put this in the theater," and everyone was like, oh, "Okay." It's not.
Well, here's the problem, George. It's just a series of action scenes. It's a very thin story.
Totally.
Yeah, it would be nice if it wouldn't drop frames, but oh my.
Oh, hello.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, Jesus.
There's 2 of them.
This is getting out of hand.
We were just talking about the prequels. Perfect.
I forget. Now, John, I know, hasn't like seen much of it. Noah, are you a Clone Wars guy? I don't remember.
I love Clone Wars, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That series finale is
It was so good. So good.
So good.
I loved that whole last season on Disney Plus. Except for I think the arc with Ahsoka is okay.
It's the weakest, but again, just hyperbolic fans who are like, "This was awful." It's like, guys,
no,
it's standard average arc of the show. It's
yeah,
like,
it's
look,
fine.
it's a great show comprised of like 30% okay episodes and 20% bad episodes, and then the rest are great. Like it's
Yeah.
always been hit or miss. I was
Especially
there, man.
especially early on.
Yeah, very hit or miss.
There's some stinker. There's there's a few like Jar Jar episodes early
There's a
on that are
lot of
pretty
Jar Jar episodes.
which is surprising for the amount of backlash that he got
Mm.
from the movies.
They at least brought Ahmed Best back, and I don't know. I wish he had the opportunity to like make that character better, but I think it was also kind of a, hey, here's some work, because he was,
Yeah.
proud of. He put his heart and soul into that, and just backfired. So
Are you
badly.
guys pro or anti Jar Jar in general?
I am indifferent.
Kind of indifferent? Yeah, like I don't know. I liked him enough when I was a kid, and then now I'm like, it's kind of annoying. But I've always said, like, if you just cut out like both of his scenes in Phantom Menace, he's pretty tolerable. I think. I like the design. Okay,
Yeah,
and the effect for the time like was impressive.
so that was a character that I liked as a kid, but then I went through like my edgy phase of being like, yeah, fuck Jar Jar Binks.
I went through that briefly, and it should be noted, by far the most like vocal, like I hate Jar Jar, he's the worst, were middle-aged dudes who grew up on the original trilogy, who
Yeah,
were complaining about.
of course they're not gonna like. I mean, he is kind of an annoying character.
He is.
I think, yeah, I'm with you. I'm more indifferent towards him now, but I think I appreciate the character more, learning about, Ahmed Best and what he put into the character.
Yeah.
But I see why people think he's so annoying.
Hmm.
I just find it funny that nobody saw him coming after the Ewoks.
Yeah, right. Like, there's a lot of like, whether you like it or not, kind of things to come with the prequels and Return of the Jedi. It's there were signs of where this thing was
Foreshadowing,
going.
yeah.
where Lucas's sensibilities were. And I will say, Lucas, his defense of Jar Jar is always like, well, people found 3PO and R2 annoying. I'm like, they had great
But
writing.
they were funny.
They're still funny. they are still beloved characters, and I mean, again, I wasn't there. I don't know, but I'm not aware of any like early '80s like, oh, those Star Wars movies are great, but those droids suck. I hate them. Like, I'm not aware of any people who
If
are.
there
Yeah, I have
is,
no idea.
and nobody talks about it.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're
mean-
talking about like the droids cartoon. That
I was gonna say, if they suck so much, why'd they get their own spin-off?
Jimbo, y'all ever watch X-Men '97? I did. I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah.
He says Jar Jar as a Sith Lord would go hard. I mean, that would be.
Okay, how much do you guys actually believe that was the original intention?
Zero.
Zero.
Negative 100%.
That's something that's always fascinated me. I don't know if I actually fully believed it, but the whole Jar Jar as a Sith Lord theory is funny. Because like some of the evidence is, you can see him like lip syncing in the background. It's like, I don't know. I think that's just some shoddy
Weird,
animation.
yeah.
Like,
Well, and of course the infamous Jar Jar is the key to all this. Is kind of a go-to.
that's just Lucas being dumb.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna give Lucas any credit in what he meant by that or what his plans were, like I still think we got that in Attack of the Clones, just maybe not to the degree he originally planned. Of if his idea was, oh no, this guy's gonna get in power and kind of unintentionally fuck up the galaxy with Palpatine, like, which is what he does in Attack of the Clones, and like one of his two scenes, which again, may have been the plan from the start, but no, I don't think Jar Jar was a secret Sith Lord. I think that was Lucas's commentary on politicians and elections and power and all this. Again, if I'm gonna give him any credit for, because there's clearly a lot of shit in the prequels. It's like, okay, you say this was planned out, but no, you were still kind of making this up as you went along.
Yeah, well, I mean, that feels like a left turn direction to go with the character after Phantom Menace, because it kind of, his role in Attack of the Clones feels more like a response to the backlash.
And how it's reduced, yeah.
Well, and also
he's like barely a cameo.
But also just to the idea of him being like an incompetent politician now. And like being part of that social commentary. Because if that was always the intention with the character, I don't think that he would go through the effort of making him, or trying to make him a likable character in the first movie.
Yeah.
Just to throw him under the bus with that. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. It is consistent with his character, though, because he is clumsy.
He is clumsy. And, like, I've seen Phantom Menace 1,000 times. I'm still confused what Palpatine's plan and motivations were. I just know it works out for him at the end.
Oh, I mean, I always just check out during those scenes. Like...
and for all that movie's faults, John, I want to get your opinion on this. I would be fascinated to see what that 4-hour cut looks like. Because there was a lot cut out of that movie that we've never seen.
Yeah.
Is there also a 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith?
Yes, but that has a lot more deleted scenes that have been like made available. We have a stronger idea of what that longer cut looked like. And that's a different situation where a lot of the deleted scenes which are available are both extensions of like the first act, but also like alternative to what we got, with a lot of like the Obi-Wan and Anakin action with the Grievous stuff. There's a lot of those deleted scenes where it's like, oh, this is like another thing they could have done, but they went this instead, and like they shot a lot of stuff that was trimmed down.
Oh, well, and that whole section kind of drags on in the theatrical cut anyway, so I'm glad that they cut it down.
Then, there's a whole subplot cut out that we've seen some of on the deleted scenes that I kind of wish we got a longer cut of. Did you know that Mon Mothma was originally in it?
Yeah, I've seen I've seen that scene where they basically like start the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah. There's a whole subplot with Padme and Mon Mothma cut out, and I kind of wish some of it got to stay in.
Well, and that's the same actor that plays Mon Mothma in
new stuff,
Rogue One.
In Rogue One
and Andor, yeah.
Dude, she's fucking great in Andor. I don't think she shows up till like episode 5, but like she's really good in it.
Oh,
and gets
Robert,
to like, be a character.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I did end up trying Andor again.
Oh. How far did you get?
Not very far again.
Oh. It still just sounded slow.
Yeah, so I get why people are going crazy over it, and like I see a lot. I appreciate it more than I enjoy it. It's just like really, it's a slog for me.
Okay. And it's a show I've always said gets better and better as it goes. It ends on a really, it ends stronger than it starts. If you make it to episode 4, like that's when Stellan Skarsgård's character gets really interesting. I think that's when Mon Mothma comes in. Like all the Coruscant stuff is great. And then there's an arc in the middle that has Andy Serkis, and he's wonderful in that show.
So I got up to that.
Okay.
To like the like prison stuff, but
okay.
I think I maybe saw the first episode of that, but even then, I was still just kind of like, I'm not really digging it too much.
All right.
The heist stuff and before that, like the previous arc, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the
But-
heist arc. So,
But yeah, I think my
I mean,
my
it's grabbing you. It's
I-
not grabbing you.
no, I mean, but I get it. I get what people love about that show because like it's doing a lot with showing like the inner workings of the Empire and the rebellion, and there's that thing again. There's heroes on both sides.
Yeah.
There's villains on both sides.
Mhm.
So I mean, I kind of like that, adding that like moral grayness to Star Wars. Like that's an interesting approach. But I think it just still has the same issue that I have with Rogue One. I just still don't really care about any of the characters. I wish I did, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Rogue One, but I much prefer Andor, and I just like Diego Luna in that role. Yeah, I like his performance.
I think
and a lot of the side characters.
Yeah, I think a lot of the side characters are more interesting than some of the main characters in Rogue One. And I think by virtue of it being a TV show, they're given more time to be fleshed out. And I kind of like Andor himself more in this show than I do in Rogue One. So it doesn't have that it's not as bad of a problem as it is in Rogue One, but it still doesn't really, grab me.
Yeah, and like I said, Stellan Skarsgård, I think he's great. Like
He
his
was an
character a
interesting
lot.
character, yeah. The different faces that he wears
Yeah.
in the different contexts. You died.
Died. And did you ever watch Tales of the Jedi? Since you're a
I
Clone Wars
did.
fan.
I did not.
The
I forgot about that actually.
it's good. It's worth watching. There's 2 arcs, 3 episodes each. The Ahsoka ones are pretty good, and the Dooku ones are great. Like those are the ones you need to watch.
Okay.
And I'd say that to you, John, as well, even though you haven't like seen much of Clone Wars yet. Like, just watch the 3 Dooku episodes in Tales of the Jedi. They are wonderful. Like, if you love prequel era stuff, the Dooku episodes in Tales of the Jedi are fantastic.
Cool.
Hell yeah. You gotta check that out sometime. Have you seen much of The Bad Batch, Robert?
Yeah, I watched all the Bad Batch. I thought it was pretty good.
I could not really get into it. The first season, when the first season was airing, I was kind of following it for a little bit, but then for whatever reason, I just kind of fell off. Which is the
That's
thing,
fair.
because I really like the Bad Batch arc in the final season of Clone Wars, but I don't know, I didn't really care about them enough for their own show.
I think the strongest stuff in that show is in season 2, and then in season 3, it kind of peters out. It also feels kind of rushed because season 3 is the final season, and probably should have gone to 4. But like, I think it's an okay show.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm surprised it got 3 seasons.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, it's like basically Clone Wars DLC, and that's kind of who they're marketing it to. But like, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, it's more that if you're a hardcore Clone Wars fan, like it's more than just member berries. It's like, oh, here's more like young Saw Gerrera and like these other characters you get to see come back and fleshed out. It's not just hey, here's the guest star of the week. It's like, oh, cool, they're fleshing out this obscure Clone Wars character more than I saw like 10 years ago. Like some of that stuff's kind of fun. And there's an episode with Palpatine in season 2 that took me by surprise, and it's like,
oh wow,
really great. And it's Ian McDiarmid, and it's awesome.
Oh,
yeah, it's a Senate scene. I think Mon Mothma was there, but yeah, it's like a big Senate scene on Coruscant and then Palpatine shows up, and like it just stops, and you're like, oh shit.
Wow.
And it's a really effective scene.
I'm surprised Palpatine's in that show at all. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, he's in one episode of 2 and one episode of 3. I'm glad
Alright.
McDiarmid's they've gotten him to come back in a few little things like that, so his final play as the character isn't Rise of Skywalker. But
Yeah.
he just loves playing that character. He was also
Oh,
Rebels. He had like a 4-episode arc in Rebels.
yeah. No, he even going back to um Revenge of the Sith, he's having so much fun in that role.
Yeah.
He maybe gives the best performance in that movie aside from Ewan McGregor.
Mm. He's like the one actor who gets to give both like a genuine quote unquote good serious performance and go full camp, and he does both perfectly. Like throughout the whole trilogy.
And when he goes full camp, it's just amazing. But because I've only seen Rise of Skywalker once, I remember him being all right in it, but he doesn't really.
Yeah.
I don't think he really has the same opportunities to like go as crazy as he goes in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, he's just stuck at one room.
He's like GLaDOS.
Yeah. And then they also got him back for a cameo in Kenobi that was kind of lame.
Oh damn! Really?
You never saw Kenobi?
No. I never.
That's one that John and I are on the same page on. That was really disappointing.
Actually, now that I think about it, I watched the first 3 episodes when they dropped, but after that, I was like,
you just dropped off.
yeah.
Well, conceptually, I hate what they chose to do with that for the story, but execution, it's just a mediocre show with a few good scenes.
Yeah. Well, I'm also not fully against an Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Oh, I wanted it. That's why I was disappointing, because I was asking for it for like 10 years. It was severely let down with what I got.
I just don't want it to be. It shouldn't be connected to Luke or like the Skywalkers. Like I want to see. Yeah, I want to see Obi-Wan just going on random adventures on Tatooine.
I just wanted a Western. That's all I wanted. A character study Western, and you get that for like a couple scenes. It's like, nope, you got to go on your space adventure, which I get it. That's what the audience wants, but that's why Andor, me and many other people respond to Andor. It's like, hey, we're taking our time. We're telling a story, even if it didn't grab you.
No,
I wish that's more what we got with Kenobi.
Well, because if I recall correctly, a lot of the Western or like more character study stuff is kind of out of the way in the first episode.
Yeah, it's like we have to. It's obligatory. Like you have to get it out of the way so we can get him off this planet on an adventure.
And also, just the idea. I don't know if this is like a contentious issue or anything, but just the idea of him having a rematch with Vader before their fight in A New Hope is not something I ever really liked.
Me neither, and I wanted to be won over on it, and I wasn't. But John and I are on the same page. Like, there is a scene with them in the finale that's very good. Whenever Vader's on screen, like it's watchable, but the scenes are few and far between.
Yeah, and it's Hayden Christensen as Vader, right?
Yeah.
It mostly there is. He is. There's also another guy in the suit sometimes. So sometimes it's Hayden, sometimes.
Okay. Because I figured he probably wouldn't be tall enough.
I think he wears like lifts, like he did in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. Was he actually in the suit at the end of Revenge of the Sith?
Yes.
Okay. I assumed that they just cut away to like a double or something.
No,
that was
because I
it, like-
remember there was a special feature on the DVD where he was like super excited to get to wear the suit.
Okay. Well, good for him. No, I mean genuinely, like that's pretty awesome to be an actor and then you're on the day where you get to wear the Darth Vader suit. Like that's cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's one scene with him in the finale Kenobi that's really good, but he gets a lot more to do in his episode of Ahsoka, and that was satisfying. It's also annoying because there's stuff. When people would say like, "Well, no, there should be a Kenobi Vader rematch," one of the excuses is, "Well, there's that scene in Return of the Jedi when Luke's talking about turning him back, and Vader's like, Obi-Wan once thought as you did." And there isn't really any of that in the prequels. Like, oh, they're still good in you, I sense it. And he's like, oh, Obi-Wan. And like, that's not really how that goes down in Revenge of the Sith.
But that's just the fault with the prequels doing a bad job of
I agree.
Communicating that these two are friends.
I agree, and the Kenobi show still fucks that up. Because when we get the big Vader Kenobi rematch, there's no like asking him to turn, apologize. Well, I mean there is at the very end, but it's very brief. No, like when they show up for the rematch, they repeat the dialogue. Like the Obi-Wan says, "I'll do what I must." Again, yeah, they do that shit.
Hey, what's up, Jareth?
You will try. Heyo, we're talking about Star Wars on this horror stream.
To be fair, not a lot's happened in this game. I'm sorry, people, if you're here for Silent Hill 2. We played this game a lot. We're close to the end. I think this game looks pretty cool. I've just run out of stuff to talk about.
I mean, we don't have to talk about all horror all the time.
Oh, VHS, the most horrifying.
Hey, don't knock the VHS revival. It's happening.
It's happening, baby.
It's happening with Terrifier and other stuff.
And really niche, expensive releases. Was Alien
Romulus? Yeah.
Yeah.
How much was the Alien Romulus one going for?
It was probably like $30.
Oh, okay, that's not expensive.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but it's cool.
Well, actually, maybe it's expensive for a VHS tape, but
yeah, that I'll never use.
I was gonna say for a movie in general. I mean, if it was like a 4K, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, especially when like the Fox releases have gotten really expensive. Thanks, Disney. No, like the baseline Blu-ray of Alien Romulus is like $30. It's like that's not the 4K, the Blu-ray. Like that's kind of high. And then
even if a release is like $30 on release, I'd usually wait for a price drop.
Yeah, me too. Because John, your Deadpool and Wolverine steelbook, like that was what, like 70?
Yep.
Jesus.
I mean, it was the 4K. I mean, I'm glad you got it because it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I'll probably just get the standard version. Oh boy.
I watched the Assembled documentary on that movie. That's on Disney Plus.
Oh, on Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Is it worth watching? Because the ones of those I've seen before are just kind of fluff pieces.
It's a fluff piece, but
Yeah.
it was okay though. Like there was just some moments that I found pretty funny because of how seriously they were taking it, which it's a documentary on the fucking Deadpool movie. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. they're all passionate about it. It's clear.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
well,
just
and I like that movie.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I rewatched the big oneer with all the Deadpools, just because that
Yeah.
movie's on Disney Plus now, and I was like, oh, no, I kind of want to watch that scene again. That's a fun scene.
Yeah, that's also why it's not urgent for me. It's like, I can watch it on Disney Plus right now, but once it's off of there, it's probably when I'll buy the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I probably won't get that until years from now, when it's like $5. But it was just funny. It's just funny for me seeing Sean Levy in anything after the most recent Best the Worst, where you discover that he was an actor in the film Zombie Nightmare.
That's so cool.
Jared Gearhart says that in his opinion, the third prequel should have taken place at the time of the old Obi-Wan show, with Vader in his suit.
I agree.
I wouldn't have hated that.
Well, I would have had Anakin turn at the end of episode 2, and then I would have had him in the suit like midway through 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have had that happen in 3.
That's like the low point of the trilogy is Anakin's fall.
Yeah. Dude, when I was a kid though, as much as I loved Revenge of the Sith, that was the single most disappointing thing about it, because I love Darth Vader, and him in the suit was all over the marketing for that movie. Like that infamous "Who's Your Daddy" poster. Like, no, I had a backpack that had a picture of Darth Vader with his lightsaber from that. And at the end of the movie, when he's finally in the suit, I thought it was gonna keep going, and then it was over, and I was like, "Fuck!" I didn't want it to stop. You only get him in the suit for like 2 minutes, so it was really disappointing. But yeah.
They shouldn't have. They really should have saved Vader for the movie. They shouldn't have put it all over the marketing.
With how little he's in it, they should not have done.
Yeah.
The final scene of him and Palpatine, like looking at the Death Star, like when he folds his arms, like that's in one of the trailers. And it's like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But
yeah, they gotta make you wait for Vader.
Yeah, and I don't. You might disagree with me on this, but I think the Vader scene in Rogue One is pretty cool. That was some childhood wish fulfillment. I am fine with it.
I thought it was awesome when I saw it in theaters. I don't know. I think the novelty's worn off at this point.
Yeah, I still think it's fun.
I like the action in that movie overall. I actually think the like main climax on the planet before it blows up is really good.
Me too. I like the look of that movie a lot.
I do too, yeah. I just don't really care that much for the Vader scene and the stuff after that.
No, like fan service. I'm outraged.
I'm pissed off.
Again, it just depends on who you're talking to and what you're compared to. I still disagree with people who are like, "Oh, that's way too over the top." I'm like, he's walking down a hallway and twirling his lightsaber. Like, it's not that crazy. It's just like if you're comparing it to the prequels, like that scene is restraint. But if you're comparing it to the original trilogy, it's like, well, Vader never did that in the original.
It's just a little strange that he decides to massacre those specific people, and then when they board the ship, he just has all the troopers kill all the rebels for him.
My headcanon is he's walking there. He's just on the other side of the ship. Just takes a minute to get there. That's my headcanon. I just don't get too worked up about like those things. Like, oh, what is the Vader Obi-Wan fight kind of suck? It's like, it was the first one. The technology was limited.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's who's gonna complain about that?
Yeah.
No, but even then, with like all the stuff on Scarif in the climax, I feel like it would have been a lot more impactful had I cared about any of those people.
Yeah, I think those characters are okay. I've always like Baze and Shuret, those two, like the blind one and his buddy.
Yeah,
always
I like
okay.
Donnie Yen.
Mhm.
I like Donnie Yen, and I like the droid.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
K2S.
again,
That's his
it just depends on what you're comparing it to. Like, I get it. Like, I don't think that movie's amazing or anything, but you know, for people who hate the prequels, it's like, oh, those characters are boring and underwritten, and in some cases that's true. But Ewan McGregor's just naturally charismatic, and maybe
He
on
is, yeah.
maybe on paper I should have more issues with how Obi-Wan is handled in those movies, but he's so charismatic. Like, I just don't care. Like, it's just watchable whenever he's on screen.
Yeah, the man can say hello there in such a
can.
charismatic way.
Oh, and he gets to say it again in the Kenobi finale.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that.
I mean, that was fine. At that point, that's just a character trait. Like,
I wasn't.
Hello there.
I didn't hate it, but it's there. It's the way it's framed. They do the No Way Home, like, stop for applause. Like, they do that with it. That's more my issue.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do like the moment in Revenge of the Sith where there's that exchange at the beginning between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it's like not really a clever line of dialogue, but it's just so it's delivered so well, where they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a trap, and so what's the next plan?" And then he just goes, "Spring the trap."
Spring the trap. Yeah. Like that. Maybe. Well, Revenge of the Sith and the original trilogy are the ones where it's like, I could do a quote-along commentary on it. I just know the dialogue so well. It's all just stored in my brain.
I probably could for the prequels.
Yeah. In Revenge of the Sith, like, there's plenty of bad writing in it, but it's probably got the most memorable dialogue of the three. It certainly has the most memes.
It's just the best one of the three.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... I still have issues with it, but it is, like, it's an improvement from the first two in every way.
Well, and there's the other camp that, like, people that respect Phantom Menace more as a film, with how it's shot and locations and, like, aesthetic choices, and I like a lot of those things about it, but I just think Revenge of the Sith is a better story. I don't think it's a great story, but I think it's a better story.
It's a better story. Yeah, I mean, I kind of have that, because I think Attack of the Clones is it's an ugly looking movie.
Yes.
It is one of, like, the most visually unappealing Star Wars movies. And, like, Revenge of the Sith, I don't have that with it at all, even though it's filmed in very much the same way. I just think the technology got a lot better.
Yeah, like, the CGI just holds up. Like, there's still too much of it.
I think it's aged better. Like, there's some stuff that still hasn't aged well, but I think it's aged better than Attack of the Clones.
I think Grievous still looks really good. Especially for the time.
Yeah.
And
there's a few characters that still look... Like, Yoda looks okay in that movie.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Did you ever watch Mr. Sunday Movies?
I've
into that channel?
Not frequently. I've seen, like, a few videos here and there, but
there's a bit where he's talking about, or there's one video where he's talking about, like, the CGI Yoda and Attack of the Clones, and, like, the long, arduous process, because, you know, at the time that was really just took a lot of technology and money and effort. And there's one bit where Lucas says, "Now the trick is to make the audience think they're looking at a puppet," and he's like, "Why don't you use a fucking puppet?" It's so good.
Because a puppet can't flip around and do tricks with a lightsaber, with a laser sword. He can't pull out that laser sword and go to town.
That's another effect that I never noticed as a kid. but looking at it now, the CGI Dooku head on the double, I'm like, oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
god, it looks so bad.
Yeah, that's something I never picked up on.
Oh, it looks so terrible. And then in Revenge of the Sith, it looks a lot better. It's a lot less noticeable.
Yeah, it's just an improvement
That's
of
pretty good.
on Attack of the Clones in every way.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you solved it.
Hey,
Oh, good, another key.
you said "oh good" a lot like Christian Bale.
Oh, good.
Jared,
for you.
Oh,
what are
good.